In a small town where English words sounded like magic spells, lived a boy named Daniel. He was bright, funny, and full of dreams. But there was one thing that always made him nervous: speaking English. Every time his teacher asked a question in English, Daniel's heart started racing. Words got stuck in his throat. His classmates giggled whenever he mispronounced something. He hated that feeling, the feeling of being less than others, just because he couldn't speak one language fluently. At home, his mother often said softly, "Son, English is just another language, not your worth." But deep down, Daniel knew how the world really worked. In interviews, on social media, in schools, people who spoke English confidently were treated differently. He wanted that confidence, not to show off, but to express his thoughts freely. One day, his school announced an English speaking competition. Daniel's first thought was, "No way, I can't do this." But something inside whispered, "Try once. What's the worst that can happen?" That evening, instead of playing games, he sat in front of the mirror. He opened his English book and began reading loudly. At first he sounded awkward. His pronunciation was wrong, his voice shaky, but he kept going. Every single day, he practiced simple sentences. "Good morning, everyone. My name is Daniel. I want to talk about my favorite book." He repeated them again and again until they started to feel natural. Then he discovered YouTube videos where English tutors spoke slowly and clearly. He started mimicking them. He paused the video, repeated the same sentence, recorded his voice, and listened back. Sometimes it sounded funny, sometimes totally wrong, but slowly, his tongue started flowing more freely. In just a few weeks, he began to think in English. Instead of saying, "I'm going to drink water," in his own language, he started forming the thought directly in English. That small shift changed everything. But still, he wasn't confident enough to speak in public. Until one day, something unexpected happened. During the morning assembly, the anchor for the thought of the day didn't show up. The teacher looked around and asked, "Who can come and read today's thought?" Nobody raised their hand. But Daniel's heart whispered again, "This is your moment." Before he could think twice, his hand went up. He walked toward the stage, his legs shaking, his palms sweating. Hundreds of students were staring at him. He took a deep breath, held the paper, and began reading slowly. "Good morning, everyone. Today's thought is, success doesn't come from what you do occasionally, but from what you do consistently." His voice trembled. His heart raced. But he finished. And when he stepped down, something inside him had changed. He wasn't perfect, but he was no longer afraid. From that day, he made a rule. Speak once every day in English, no matter how small. He spoke to shopkeepers in broken English. He greeted teachers with, "Good morning, ma'am." He joined online speaking clubs where people from different countries practiced together. And he realized something powerful. Everyone was learning, everyone was making mistakes, and everyone was improving. Soon his pronunciation improved, his vocabulary grew, and his fear began to fade. He learned that speaking English isn't about grammar perfection. It's about confidence and consistency. Months later, the same competition returned. This time, Daniel joined it. On stage, he didn't use fancy words. He simply told his story, how he started with fear, with small steps, how he practiced daily, and how speaking English changed his life. When he finished, the whole hall clapped, not because he was perfect, but because he was real. He didn't win the first prize, but he won something far greater: self-belief. Afterward, his teacher smiled and said, "Daniel, your journey itself is the message. English is not the language of the rich or smart. It's just a tool, and you've learned to use it beautifully." Daniel smiled. He realized the secret was never about learning thousands of words. It was about using what you already know, every single day. He read English newspapers, not for big words, but for sentence flow. He watched English movies with subtitles, repeated the dialogues, and laughed at his own mistakes. He made English a part of his daily life, from thinking to texting, from journaling to joking. Years later, Daniel grew up, went to college, and became a spoken English coach. He helped others who feared the same thing he once did. And he always told his students, "Don't aim to speak perfect English. Aim to speak confident English. Mistakes are proof you're trying. Every time you speak, you improve." His story became an inspiration in his town. A boy who once couldn't say a single English sentence, now helping others find their voice. And whenever someone asked, "Daniel, how did you learn English?" he smiled and said softly, "I didn't learn it overnight. I lived it every day. One word, one sentence, one mistake at a time." Moral: you don't need perfect grammar or expensive classes to speak English. All you need is courage to start, consistency to continue, and confidence to keep going. Because language isn't about perfection, it's about connection.